Join me today as we explore layered ink blending to create beautiful, realistic effects. Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for Altenew. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing 2 card projects that feature layered ink blending. We're also going to talk about blending brushes and how to choose the right one for the job. Now today's card projects feature the translucent Foliage Craft Your Life kit, and I absolutely love this. I have it in an Altenew storage pocket here, and I also have a mini blending brush pulled out. We'll be using that here in just a few moments. This translucent Foliage Craft Your Life kit includes a large 6x8 stamp set, a coordinating stencil and die set, as well as a 3D embossing folder, and we're going to be using all of these products today. Now I'm going to start out by stamping my images, and I've brought in my Stampwheel 2.0, and this is perfect for this because I have a lot of large images that I want to stamp all at once, and the new 9x9 surface area of the Stampwheel 2.0 allows me to stamp several of these florals as well as the leaves at one time. So you can see I've arranged them on the platform with the design side facing down on that stamp wheel, and then I've picked them up using the flip plate. Now I have a piece of white cardstock. This measures 8.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and I'm just nestling it into that lower right-hand corner. In case I need to restamp, that will make sure that I can position that paper in the same exact spot. Now for the inking of the images, I am using the Altenew Obsidian Pigment Ink. This stamps so beautifully and so crisply. When you have stamps like these florals and these leaves that have these fine, intricate lines, this is the perfect ink. Now keep in mind it is a pigment ink, so you're going to want to heat set it before you start your ink blending, and we'll do that here in just a moment. So you can see once I had my stamps inked up, I went ahead and flipped my flip plate back over. I pressed all over my stamps, and then I have these gorgeous stamped images that I'll remove from my stamp wheel. And once again, as I mentioned before, I will hit them with a heat tool because I'm going to be doing some blending over the top of these florals, and I don't want to pick up any of that black pigment ink with my blending brushes. Now, each of these florals is labeled on the stamp set, and I kind of kept them in order to help me with my ink blending because each floral has a coordinating stencil that has the various layers. I'm using the new Tranquility Fresh Dye Inks. I'm starting out with the Misty Morning ink and a large ink blending brush, and I want you to take note of something here. When I blend over that entire flower with this large ink blending brush, I get a nice even coat over the entire thing. But with a large ink blending brush like this, it tends to be a little bit harder to go in and add specific detailed spots or darker, deeper spots. That is why I like a mini ink blending brush for something like this. You can see I'm bringing in this vanilla cream fresh dye ink. It's from the new Delectable Delights. So when you're choosing your ink blending brushes, think about what you want to do. If you want to put a nice even layer over a large surface, then a large ink blending brush is a perfect tool for that medium. But if you're wanting to add some deep, dark, dimensional areas like in the center of this floral here, you might want to switch to a smaller ink blending brush like the mini brushes or even the micro blending brushes, because those are going to allow you to even control the color application even more. It would be nearly impossible for me to build up that dark, deep, rich blue color in the center of the florals using the large ink blending brush just because of the sheer size. Also, because it's that large round surface, as you move the brush, you're going to naturally bring ink into other areas that you may not want it. That's why the smaller blending brushes make a lot of sense for kind of building color in specific areas. Now you'll also notice that on each of these florals, I'm using a combination of colors. I'm using some lighter and darker blues from this Tranquility Fresh Dye Ink set, and I'm also using this vanilla cream, which is a nice neutral. And when you're layering colors like this, it's important to kind of choose your colors carefully. You either want to choose colors that are kind of close to each other on the color wheel, meaning they sit next to each other. So like green and blue sit next to each other, or yellow and green sit next to each other. Or you want to use something like a nice neutral, like the Delectable Delights, to add some colors. When you're using a neutral, it's going to make sure that you're not creating mud. And you can see here, even on these leaves, I've used not only greens, but I did some shading with that Dark Night, which is a blue, to give it a little bit of a different look. And now that I have all of my ink blending done, I'm going to take the coordinating dyes, line them up with my stamped and inked images, and run them through my die cut machine. And now I have 3 beautiful floral images and a bunch of leaves that I've blended in the same way as that first one that I showed you. And these are ready to put on a card. Now, when I started building these cards, I considered bringing in some other stamps or dies to kind of fill out the design of these cards, but I thought it would be great to show you that these Craft Your Life kits are really perfect because they have everything you need to create complete card projects. So I decided just to use this kit for all of the stamping, embossing, and sentiments as well. Now you can see I have some cardstock here. This is the Nimbus cardstock. It is one of my favorites and it coordinates with these new Tranquility Fresh Dye Inks. And I'm using the 3D embossing folder included in that Craft Your Life kit and running them through my die cutting machine to create some texture on these panels. Now I am going to add some metallic white splatter, but before I do that, I'm going to grab a large ink blending brush and the Nimbus ink from that Tranquility Fresh Dye Ink set, and I'm going to add a little shading around the outside edge. Once again, because I'm covering a large area with this ink coming around the edges and I want to create a nice smooth kind of even blend, this large ink blending brush is the perfect way to do that. I'm not going to bring it all the way into the center of the cardstock. I'm just concentrating more around the outer edges, and I'm going to repeat this process with both of these panels of cardstock. Now earlier when I had the metallic watercolors out, I was just adding water to that white metallic watercolor and allowing it to kind of sit there to kind of soak into that metallic watercolor and kind of activate it. And then I set it aside while I did my ink blending, and I had that kind of order in mind on purpose so that these watercolors could really kind of start moving. And that allowed me to come in and add the splatter to these panels. I heat set that, but I actually didn't do that quite long enough because I will smear some of my white metallic splatter here in just a bit, but we'll fix that by adding a sentiment right over the top. You can see I smeared it there on that panel, and I'll disguise that, so don't worry about that. So now I'm arranging my florals and my leaves. I'm adding them onto these panels using some Instant Dimension foam tape, and I'm creating a couple of different layouts. So on the first layout, I have one full floral with a couple of leaves. On this one, I am going to add the florals with the edges hanging over the sides of this panel, and then I'm going to trim off the excess to create a beautiful floral panel there. So now that I have kind of my card fronts created, it's time to work on some sentiments. And as I mentioned before, I decided to use these small sentiments included in the translucent foliage stamp set, and I've just stamped them in the Dark Night ink onto some ivory cardstock and trimmed them into small strips, and I'm placing them onto the card fronts using a little bit of foam adhesive so they sit even with the florals that I've popped up on these panels. I then trimmed down some panels of Dark Night cardstock, just a little bit darker frame here for the panels that I've created, and I'm adding these completed floral card fronts onto the Dark Night cardstock using some more foam adhesive. I know there's a lot of foam adhesive on these, but I really like my cards to stand out, and foam adhesive is a great, easy way to do that. So here are my finished card projects. I've taken those panels and added them to some ivory card bases, and you can see I have these beautiful floral images with that layered ink blending. Those neutral colors on the petals really bring a more realistic effect, and I love layering that blue with the green to kind of create some unexpected blends on these leaves. I hope that the next time you create, you'll feel a little more confident in layering ink colors from different color families to create a more realistic effect. And I also hope you'll feel a little more confident choosing which size blending brush to use for the job. Now, as always, I will have links to the featured products used in these projects in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. Or you can head on over to the coordinating blog post. I'll have that linked in the YouTube description below as well. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. As always, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you enjoyed these projects. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on this YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the fabulous paper crafting, card making, and live streams shared here. Thanks again for watching. I'm so glad you're here, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.
Hey there, Lydia here. I really do hope that you've just enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get your daily dose of crafty techniques and tutorials just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.